music playlist. Today we have Fairbanks and the Lonesome Light. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
You guys want to introduce yourself and what instruments you play?
Sure. I'm Eric Flores, and I play guitar and sing.
Two different kinds of guitars.
I guess I play electric and acoustic.
I'm Amelia Rose Logan, and I play guitar and mandolin, and I sing.
Very cool. Did you play you did play the mandolin when I saw you guys, didn't you?
Just for one song.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah, I enjoy the mandolin a lot, so.
I do too. I'm not extremely technical on it. Mm-hmm. I like the mandolin that I have because it's very jangly, and I get to be very jangly on it. So.
Very cool. Very cool. And where did the name come from?
We were living on Fairbanks Place when we were in Los Angeles. We were born and raised here in Austin, spent some time in L.A., and spent most of our time in L.A., all of my time, most of his time in L.A., living on Fairbanks Place.
Okay. Very cool. I lived in the Santa Barbara area for a while.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty nice up there.
We miss California sometimes. We're happy to be back in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, Austin specifically.
Yeah.
Let's clarify.
Right. No offense to all the Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and elsewhere people.
Right.
But Austin, it's home for us. So
yeah.
we kind of know the ropes, and it was cool to come back.
Yeah.
But LA is great. It gets such a bad rap.
I know.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
Hopefully less and less. I don't hear as much, disdainful conversation about it as I used to.
Yeah.
Maybe people are just getting used to it. But we had such a good time. It's such a cool spot. We met super cool people. We were just really lucky to put a little family together out there.
Yeah.
Nice artists, musicians.
That's awesome.
It's a different kind of environment. Everybody out there, we met some people who were from Los Angeles or the surrounding area, but for the most part, everybody that's out there has migrated there from somewhere else with, a clear intention of creating some kind of art or something along those lines. And so everybody kind of feeds off of each other, and the community as far as musicians and artists and, actors and actresses go in that kind of creative world is extremely supportive and inclusive.
Very cool. Yeah. It was funny because anybody who's from Santa Barbara or from Austin would kill me if I said this, but they're so much alike. There's definitely differences, but there's a lot alike too.
Santa Barbara and Austin?
Yeah. And they definitely...
I feel that.
Like the people that are from Santa Barbara are like, well, I was born here.
Right.
Claim it.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I know there's people in Austin that do the same thing, and like when people ask me like, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I was born here, and they're like, what, really?
Right.
That's so rare. And I'm like, I know, I'm kind of a unicorn, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's the unicorn thing. I've never been called a unicorn as often as I have when I say I'm born and raised in Austin.
Yeah.
In Austin.
Right.
Yeah.
In a house, like hippie style. She was born in a house in Travis Heights. I always qualify her story with that extra little glimmer of coolness. And they're like, were you born like in Austin? It's like, I was born in Austin. In an Austin house, out of a hospital, in the neighborhood.
That's very Austin.
Totally.
Austin. The same midwife delivered me and my 5 girlfriends, who I am still very close friends with.
Oh, that's awesome.
I know.
That's really
And
cool.
all of our siblings.
I met somebody who was born in the same hospital within like a couple of hours of me at the church that I went to when I was younger, at my mom's church. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right down the hall.
That's cool.
That's funny.
And how did you guys get into music?
Together or just overall?
Overall.
Like,
and then together.
Go ahead. We both grew up in it. Both of our dads were musicians, and I know I can speak for both of us. And when I say that the music was surrounding us from childbirth, always there.
We were pretty lucky.
Yeah.
My dad taught me how to play guitar, or how to play 3 chords.
Yeah.
And then I kind of took it from there. I think both of our dads are musicians, just not professionally.
Yeah.
My dad's an English professor, so like the summer's off kind of thing, and afforded him the ability to be able to have a band.
Right.
And
that's cool.
I was lucky enough after a certain age to be able to play with him in that band. So I played with my dad, like later. I was already doing my own thing. Yeah. But they needed a bass player. And I was like, I think I was 18. I was like, I'd totally play bass with you. Yeah. You know? And, just luck of the draw. You get a musically inclined family. Yeah. And they kind of set you on probably the path you were already going to take. Yeah. But way earlier. Yeah. Like 3 years old trying to play mandolin. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Super, super cool memories,
Definitely.
Yeah. It helps to grow up with it and to have that the support when you choose to run with it. Yeah. That was the same way my dad and my uncle both taught me how to play guitar. And when I was about 14, I decided that I wanted to start playing in coffee houses. And my dad was much better at the guitar at that point than I was. And so he would sit in and back me up.
That's awesome.
Which was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love your Austin debut story.
Yeah, the Kerrville Folk Festival.
Are you familiar with the Kerrville Folk Festival?
It sounds familiar.
It's been going on for years. It's definitely a folky thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I wasn't even super aware. I started out blues and went right into rock and roll. Yeah. So I kind of skipped the ultra folky thing. Yeah. She was immersed in it. World. And her dad is also super folky. Yeah. So among those people, and it's more mainstream now, but Kerrville Folk Festival is a big deal. Yeah. And it's pretty, it's awesome. Lots of really famous and also not famous musicians go hang out, and I think they camp out for 2 weeks or something, a week maybe.
Yeah, it's anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. It's 3 weekends.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's a big deal.
Yeah, they have the New Folk Contest. That's with Jimmy LaFave. He won the New Folk Contest. That's kind of how he got launched into his career and stuff. Anyway, so I grew up going out there, and they have this part of the ranch called Chapel Hill that has this very old tree on it, and it's where when you are a teenager and you start doing debaucherous things, you go up there to watch the sunrise with other debaucherous teenagers. But during the daylight hours, they have children's shows up there and different kinds of things, and they have a 3-hour stretch where they have the songwriters circle and open mic kind of. And you go and sign up, and I wrote a song on an HEB bag when I was 10 and insisted on playing it up there. Yeah. And it was very fun.
There's nothing more
I think
Texas than
shook the whole time, but I loved it. Yeah.
And for people who aren't from Texas, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I heard a funny, and I'm like stealing one radio story for another story, but this guy was talking about, I think it's one of those commercials that's on like KUT or something. But the guy was talking about, he first got to Austin and I was like asking some little girl for directions somewhere. She goes, well, just go to the HEB. He was like, HEB? And he's just never got it. HEB. And he goes, I was just driving around forever looking for a big like bumblebee scratching itself like on a big sign. HEB. And in California we're also like, HEB. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. Right. I remember when I first moved out to California. I mean, I was 20, so I was an adult by that point, but I was just like, wait, where does everybody do their grocery shopping? I'm very confused right now.
Girl, I was 31 when I moved to LA, and I was like, wait, where's the HEB? And what the hell's a Vons?
Right. Why is everything more expensive?
Yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Now I miss my Vons.
Yeah.
We had the neighborhood Vons.
There's definitely something about Vons that was nice, yeah. Yeah. I was kind of excited when we got a Trader Joe's out here. I was like, oh, totally. I actually know what that is. Like,
when we moved back, they had just opened up the Trader Joe's, and I was like, okay, maybe this return home will be somewhat seamless in my homesickness for Los Angeles.
And not that we were like, right, I was about to say, not that we were huge like fast food like fanatics or anything, but we also saw that In-N-Out was making its way over here. It's like, okay, well,
However, the In-N-Out lines here, when they opened, were 3 miles long. And
really?
It was easier to just drive back to LA and
right.
get a burger real quick and come home.
Thankfully, they have settled down a lot.
They have.
But, yeah. And then how did the band come together?
Eric was living out in Los Angeles already, I was still here in Austin, and when we started becoming romantically involved, we had known each other for a very long time before we took note of each other in that way. I moved out to Los Angeles, and we sang a lot together. We played a lot together. As Eric likes to say, we were cut from the same cloth in so much as we liked to drink all the whiskey in the house and watch the sunrise and do it all with a guitar in the hand the whole time. So there was a lot of that. And during one of those backyard sessions, we had some friends kind of convince us that maybe we should actually do this together outside of, the comforts of our own little fire circle.
Totally. It was cool though. We accepted that little support and that little nudge.
Yeah.
And I was like at the tail end of a project that I'd been working on for a couple of years. I was like, I could use a change. And I mean, we were definitely having a blast singing together. There was no doubt about that. Yeah. So it was a kind of backwards and, probably the better way to start a band, but it's totally backwards. The music first, which you would think, that would be what you do first, but it wasn't a concept first. It wasn't an idea first, or even a want. Yeah. Like, I need another band, or we should start a band, or it's just like, let's play. And someone else is like, you guys should do this. And then one of our friends out there who runs a really cool blog, also Buzz Bands LA, our buddy Kevin Bronson, put a little songwriter showcase together at this spot right down the street from where we were living. And he was like, you guys should do it. Effectively giving us our first gig. Yeah. And we're like, oh yeah, totally, absolutely. And agreed to it, and then kind of forgot about it. Yeah. And then he called us up, and he was like, hey, what's the name of the band, by the way? I'm putting, he's super pro and does his thing really well. And he's like, so I need the name. We're, making posts about it and doing this and that. Yeah. I was like, oh shit, we don't have a name. It was literally the hand on the receiver of the phone. Hang on. And we looked, what do we do? And then just looked out the window and saw the Fairbanks. Yeah. So I was like, Fairbanks. And I'm like, okay, Fairbanks. And it stuck. We figured we'd change it later, but we added "And the Lonesome Light" a little further down the road. But I don't know. It's nostalgic and cool for us. I often wonder how it sounds. Like, it's got a story. Yeah. Like, I wonder how it sounds to other people. It's like Fairbanks and the Lonesome Light. They don't know. Like, we get asked, y'all from Alaska? It's like, no.
I have been asked that at shows before. Yeah. This gentleman was actually at Stubbs. He was from Anchorage, Alaska, and he was very excited that we were called Fairbanks.
You almost want to let them down.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Right. I do feel like, I know that sometimes with band names you can kind of tell what type of music it is from the name. Mm-hmm. I think y'all's is just like kind of out there in a way enough that it kind of encompasses it, but at the same time you're like, wait.
A little nebulous.
Yeah.
That's
ambiguous enough, I guess.
I like that a lot because so is our music, sort of, in a certain way. Like, we have disparate elements or some things that it's like not super folky, not super country, not super like indie rock, but it's like sometimes the guitars get really loud and nasty. Sometimes it's super pretty and acousticy. Right. So at least that's what we're shooting for. Yeah.
Like, I know I'm not going to be going to see a punk show if it's Fairbanks and the Lonesome Light.
For sure.
But
I think adding the Lonesome Light part really solidified that. Just Fairbanks could be even more open-ended. It's like, that could be anything.
If it was just the Lonesome Light, it might be more emo.
Exactly. You put them together.
The two together slid us right under that Americana umbrella.
Yeah.
That's good. Inadvertently a good choice. Band names. It is the worst part, in my opinion. The worst part of having a band. Yeah. It's like having to name it. Like,
I love asking that question because the stories are always so out there and ridiculous. Right. Like, it's never, we just really liked, like, sometimes it is, like, I've interviewed a band in there, they took it from a it's the name of a song from another band that they love and that they draw inspiration from. Yeah. And then, like, another band, I was like, well, we had a bunch of names when we put them in a hat, and that's the one we pulled out, you know?
You want to do that kind of thing because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And the qualifying factor for this is when we did that, like, hand over the receiver, what are we going to name it? Fairbanks. We had two of our buddies there, and one of them was like, that doesn't suck. Which
go with it.
It sounds like the minimum bar, but frankly, it's like that's the best you can hope for.
Right.
Like that's what you want to hear.
Yeah.
That name doesn't suck. Awesome. That's like
we're
going with it.
Bullseye.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get like that's the greatest name ever. It's just like
that's not true. Yeah. That's not necessarily true. There's a band called Free Kittens and Bread, and so far that's been my favorite band name ever.
Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Admittedly.
But I will say that, you know, that doesn't suck is probably a lot higher than I think most people would expect for
That doesn't suck, which will be the name of our follow-up project.
Right.
Should we have one?
Right.
Yeah, I remember trying to figure out the name of the podcast. I was just like, what am I going to name it?
Uh-huh.
And then, you know, I do like the movie Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. It's a good movie.
Right.
And I feel like, you know, as much music as they put into it, it makes sense. And I was like, would I get in trouble if I took Nick and Nora out and put my name in instead?
Right.
I was like, no, I don't think so. Yeah. And I told a few people, and they were like, that's actually that's pretty good. And I was like, okay, then I'm sticking with it. Like, I'm not changing it.
Yeah.
So
that's it. That doesn't suck.
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it. Yeah.
Do you remember the name of the first band that you were in?
I think it was 0 Hour was my high school band.
Nice.
And we did a radio interview recently. So if you hear this, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you when you asked me. Someone else asked, well, who was it that asked me that question in an interview not too long
John.
ago?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't remember. But I remembered for you.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that was it. That sounds like a high school rocker.
Yeah,
kid.
it does, definitely. I've heard some pretty great ones.
Right.
My first band was not high school rocker. It was very high school folk, and it was called 49 Reasons, after a Crosby, Stills and Nash song.
Speaking of naming bands after songs.
49 bye-byes.
Yeah.
Very cool. And how many bands were you each in before Fairbanks came together?
I personally was not in very many bands. I wasn't
Mostly
really a group artist.
solo.
I was solo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 49 Reasons is actually the only solid band that I ever put together.
Yeah.
And then I just did solo.
I think maybe a pretty small number for me because I was always fronting my own projects.
Yeah.
I think when you do that, you hopefully stick to your guns for a while and give it a real swing. So, of course, I'm as old as dirt, so you could say I've been in a handful of bands, but maybe four or five bands probably.
Yeah.
No more than that for sure. Yeah.
And describe your music. I know we've kind of already a little bit, but
I'll let you take that one.
Sure. That's always a tough one too, because it's funny when you like on social media or putting one sheets together. More so on social media because it's kind of fast and loose.
Yeah.
Like if you're putting a one sheet together, which is like for a whole promo pack,
right.
You actually have to really think it out. And generally, there's somebody helping you with it.
Yeah.
But on social media, you can just kind of like almost whimsically describe. You just kind of whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
And me and my friend were talking about how there's a chasm of difference between what your band sounds like and how you describe your band.
Yeah.
And people generally list their influences, which you don't always sound like that. It's be like, well, kind of like Beatles and like David Bowie and Ryan Adams, and like, you guys don't really sound like that very much. Oh, but those are my favorite artists. So, okay, well, all right.
That's what they sound like.
Right.
Yeah. Like you sound like.
So trying to and then how to do it without listing other bands.
Yeah.
Like how do you do that?
Yeah.
I guess try to get poetic with it or something.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like a misty morning. Like, no, nobody wants to hear that either. It's Americana driven, which I guess is an old genre that's recently kind of sprung up a bunch. I think at this point everyone's kind of getting sick of hearing the word Americana. That's the vibe. I'm getting like, Americana, oh my God, everything Americana. But rootsy to be sure, but because she comes from a much more folky background, and I do come from a little bit more of a rock and roll background, the combination ends up putting us somewhere in another category.
Yeah.
There's some pretty kind of underlying acoustic guitar, guy-girl harmonies, and then when things get a little too pretty, I tend to want to really bust them up a little bit with a loud guitar.
Yeah.
Like either somewhere towards the end of the song or just somewhere right in the middle, just kind of like,
yeah,
it just gets too pretty. And I don't know where that necessarily comes from, or if we're consciously trying to shape anything. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. Yeah. I always tell people that's not ever a genre question, because genres can't describe things anymore with music, because everything's so melded together and different than what it was even like 5 years ago. So
and as time goes on, it becomes more and more granular. Just breaks in half, then breaks in half again, and breaks in half again, and then you just got like, as many genres as you can fathom. And then subgenres, and it gets like really funny and like interesting.
I mean, there's definitely some people out there that definitely stick to a very specific sound. Like there's, like ska is a very specific genre, but even in that, there's like Latin ska and reggae ska, so.
And it depends if you're a traditionalist and you're doing traditional, polkas or something. Then that's your school. That's where you're coming from, and that's what you're gonna do. But if you like write songs, I feel, and I don't know if everyone agrees with this or not, but it seems like if you write songs, you don't necessarily subscribe musically to a specific, like traditional hardcore school of thought as far as like, well, this has to be like 1-4-5, like blues straight. You're writing a song, so you're just trying to express yourself in one way or another, and you end up putting stuff out there that's based purely on your musical library internally. Yeah. So it's just based on what you listen to. And at one point you might pull some weird, like even us playing acoustic-ish kind of music, we might pull some weird melody that we heard in a Prince song. Yeah. That we weren't even, that's kind of like, it's got this. And then pull something else from somewhere else. Yeah. And I think if you're lucky, it comes out your own.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, too, heading down that road as far as writing songs goes is the end product of this song kind of, it ends up being your therapeutic process working through whatever it was that you were writing about. Right. And I know that we've gone into the studio with songs with a pretty clear idea of how we wanted it laid out and what we wanted it to sound like, and then getting in there and really working on it. And one of us was like, I am really hearing this noise or this sound happening right here, and adding it in last minute, or just even talking about it, and kind of it evolves into something else, and all of a sudden the end product of the song was not what it was first intended as, but man, that's exactly how it was supposed to sound. Yeah.
Whether you knew it or not going in.
Yeah. It gets to where it needs to be.
Yeah. It finds itself, finds itself out with maybe your help a little bit. Right. As the writer, but it's almost like it's got its own, it's trying to find its own way.
Yeah. That's funny because I've heard writers that write novels say that their characters write the stories and they're just, doing whatever the character tells them to do, and that kind of sounds similar to that.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah. And what are your shows like?
That's an interesting question. I just got blindsided. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. What are your shows like? Well, you've got to bring up perspective or a point of view, vantage point. For us, as the people playing the music, which is, I guess, is the only way we've ever experienced our shows are great. And not in a descriptive sort of way as the music is great, but they're therapeutic and the most fun, at least, top 3 most fun things that we do.
They're very emotionally cathartic.
Yeah.
And they can be nerve-wracking and
that's part of it.
So many things, but all that stuff, dialed in and just thrown in with the expression and the getting a chance to play your stuff for other people and kind of seeing reactions and then getting to the two of us being connected.
Yeah.
And then we've been lucky so far to have bands that we connect with as well. Our Austin band and our LA band. They were just a bunch of great people. So they're, from our perspective, from where we're at, I think they're a whole lot of fun. And I don't know, I feel the most comfortable up there sometimes when we get going, when all the cogs are in place and, we're shifting into 5th gear. It's like, okay, this is super comfortable.
Yeah.
And awesome. That's how I feel anyway.
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. It definitely comes across. That is one thing before I'll ask somebody to be on the podcast, I have to see them live. And as long as it's a good energy coming out, then I'm like, all right, they know what they're doing. They're doing it for the right reasons.
That's a question for you. What was our live show like?
Awesome.
But I feel you on that, doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea of authenticity.
Yeah.
We bring that up now and again, just with people we talk to. But authenticity is the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But it can be elusive if you overthink it.
Yeah.
And I think we tried to kind of stay simple. And if that comes across, because that's also, for me, that's definitely my only hard requirement from any other artist. I don't have any more than that. I don't ask for any more than that.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be intense or laid back or, make sure you blah, blah, blah. And then it's only art if this and this. Authenticity.
Yeah.
If you're authentic, then I have no right to judge anything else about it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everyone's authentic.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see through that stuff. But, that's pretty much the only thing we ask of ourselves as well.
Yeah.
It's we try to get our technical proficiency up to a minimum, but then it's okay, authentic.
Yeah.
What are those lyrics? What are we talking about? Are we enjoying this? We've scrapped songs going you know what? Doesn't feel good. At rehearsal, we're not kind of phoning it in. Technically, the song might be really cool, or I could see how it would be useful, but it's not.
Yeah.
We're not clicking on it, so we just.
Yeah.
We've had moments where you went to work on the technical aspect of it, in so much as the harmonies go, and picking it apart note by note and really getting it down and singing it again. And man, the harmonies were right on, but there was no emotion in it.
Yeah.
Because we had focused so hard on it. So then easing up on that a little bit, and we're like, okay, let's remember what this song is for us, and maybe the harmonies aren't always right on, but it's the emotion is there.
Yeah.
The realness is there.
Yeah.
Which is more important, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think even most people, there's been so many times where I've gone to a show and somebody's been like, man, we just weren't on tonight. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That was great.
Right.
That was fantastic. I don't know what's in your head right now, but out here, from my perspective, it's fantastic. And I think as long as you're feeling it, nobody's going to notice.
Right.
At all if a note is missed or if it just isn't quite how it was when you recorded it or whatever.
Right.
So I actually one of the shows that I went to this weekend last night, there's One of my friends, he's in like 3 or 4 different bands, and he played in 3 of them this weekend.
Wow.
And he started singing lyrics from one of the other bands
that's
in
good.
the wrong band, but it fit the song. Like, somehow it actually fit, like, the melody and everything, and I was like,
Sweet.
I mean, it was funny because I don't really know this other band that well, so I don't know their songs yet, and I was like, wait, why do I recognize these lyrics?
Right.
Oh, that's why. You know what? It works. Keep going.
Yeah.
He
It's
just
fine.
went with it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He was funny because he kind of stopped and he was like, he looked at he was playing guitar and does like, kind of like you guys. It's not really like, it's lead, but there's like kind of 2 leads.
Right.
And he just kind of looked at him and he was like, you take over.
Right.
I'll get it back. I just need you to take over for a second.
That's the good thing about having 2 front vocals.
Yeah.
There's always like, you can, I forget my own lyrics so damn much. Hate it.
Yeah.
And she remembers them. And there have only been 1 or 2 times when we both forgot. Yeah. And it was at rehearsal. And nice. Never on stage. And on stage, I can kind of like just trail back like a half a second and wait to hear what she's going to say. Like, that's my lyric. Yeah. We sing at the same time often. It's 2-part harmony almost all the way through.
Yeah.
And at rehearsal, we had, recently actually, a couple of times where I did that thing and she did that thing too. And it's like, well, that's not fair if you're not going to be there for it. And so we both stopped. All the guys started laughing at it. Because we wrote the song, believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I always kind of find that funny, but at the same time, I can see, like, if you're doing other stuff on top of writing the lyrics, like writing the guitar and whatever else is in it, the lyrics might get a little bit lost in that, so.
Yeah.
It's always funny when he sings a wrong lyric at least 4 or 5 times, and I have to say, okay, do you want it to be that? Should we change what I'm singing?
Right.
And he says, I think so. It's what it's.
I think this is a sign at this point.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to keep singing this louder if you're wanting to change it.
Right.
Go with it, right?
What's your favorite thing about playing live?
Favorite thing about playing live? Gosh, I don't even really know how to describe that. My favorite thing about playing live is playing live.
Yeah.
It's, like Eric said, it can be extremely nerve-wracking, always like presenting a new song or, large audiences or playing a place that I've always wanted to play that I hadn't gotten to yet, such as does.
Yeah.
Can be very nerve-wracking, but it makes it really exciting. And being on the stage, I like it when the lights are bright in my face and I can't see anybody else. And we're just up there singing, and I get to sing with my best friend that we do all the time with each other. But live, you get to put it out and you get it back. Yeah. There's something about playing with a live audience, the exchange of energy and emotion that happens that just takes it to a really intense, beautiful space.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's a few things I enjoy. I think the best thing about playing live is the same thing that I kind of am terrified of. And that's, there's this feeling you get that you don't get anywhere else when you perform your songs. You don't get it at rehearsal, and you don't get it in the studio. And that's that this big, like, kind of like a vehicle or a machine or something has started moving, like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's like, and you can't turn back.
Yeah.
I mean, you could if you really. It's like, okay, everybody stop. But that's,
right. But you don't want to be
you're not going to do that. So yeah, you don't want to stop the roller coaster and go the emergency buttons. Like, let me off. Yeah. But that's the feeling that used to terrify me in the early years. Like the first couple of gigs you do at rehearsal, you're so comfortable. You're like, and you don't make as many mistakes because you're so comfortable. But then that feeling, you're like, you see people looking at you, and you're on stage, and you're like, oh shit, we've started moving.
Yeah.
And we can't stop. And I can't stop. And this is not going to stop.
And if I start screaming, I just have to go with it.
Exactly. So, that terror transformed eventually into just loving that feeling.
Yeah.
I love right when it's like you start the very first song in an hour set or whatever you do, and it's like, all right, whoever counts it off, the drummer, and then you, boom, it's just moving.
Yeah.
And it feels like a physical momentum, like you can almost feel forward movement.
Yeah.
And that's a real special and unique feeling that I'm sure other performing artists get, but that's where I get it. And it doesn't feel like anything else that I do in my entire life. It's a super unique feeling.
Yeah. You can set an intention of this is kind of the map, but you're never guaranteed to follow that map. And every show feels different and ends up different. And it's
organic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many moving parts.
Yeah.
So it's cool to feel that little clunky vehicle that's kind of like clunking down the road. Like, all right, let's keep the doors on. Like, hope the wheel doesn't fall off.
It's funny that you describe it that way, because I actually, as you were saying that, I have this. So I've been doing the podcast for almost a year now. Like this week is in a couple of days, it'll be a year. Cool. And when I started it, it was kind of a little bit that, but like a week or two ago, I decided I was like, I do want to get to a point where this is all I'm doing. Like, I don't want to have a day job anymore.
Totally.
I'm tired of working for money at this point. I'm willing to do other stuff to help bring in money, because I have to survive, but I want it to be stuff that I enjoy. Like, I work at House of Torment, and maybe do a couple of other fun little things like that. Right. But when I made that decision, it was kind of like, okay, I'm really going for this at this point. And, I've started thinking about doing different things to try to make the podcast a little bit bigger, and so that I can get to that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like it's moving. The terror.
Yeah.
But beauty.
Terror, but at the same
fun
time,
terror.
it's like,
So cool.
Yeah. Definitely. And what's your writing process like?
I feel like I'm talking way more than you.
Yeah.
You can't shut me up.
Per usual. Kidding.
No, it's
not really.
It's a real thing.
It's luckily I like to listen to him talk, so it works out. We have different writing processes. We write separately. For sure. We write separately, bring it to each other, and then edit the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Out of each other's.
Yeah.
Right. Eric does most of the writing. I've started writing again, and it's been funny talking about it, because I always mine is always kind of lyrics first, and Eric is music first, and I like that. I like that we kind of approach it from different sides of the coin, and then bring it to each other, and as he likes to say, make red marks all over the page. It kind of ends up being somewhat of a co-writing process.
Yeah.
Because of the end collaborative effort, but the songs' inceptions are separate.
Yeah, it's funny writing or trying to co-write. I've done it once or twice in my entire life. Like, sat in a writing room in a studio.
Yeah.
Like, they would pair people off and like, go write a song.
That just seems so like technical and.
It is. I think it's working on a craft at that point.
Yeah.
It's being a craftsman or a person.
I mean, I guess I could see how like
you could work on it to facilitate the process maybe, but I wasn't I didn't do very well.
Yeah.
In that situation, I still remember the song that I wrote with the person. It ended up on a record, but I hate the song. I hate my input on it. I just feel like she could have done better on her own. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And the reason why is because it ties back to this authenticity. Mm-hmm. So unless you're of the same mind and heart, how can it be authentic? Yeah. If you're making concessions, you can't make concessions with authenticity.
Yeah.
So because I've got a story that I'm trying to tell, and although she does write lyrics first, I write music first, but I have phonetics in mind mm-hmm. and melody, and I'll just start singing what appears to be nonsense. Mm-hmm. But then I listen back on my phone, and it's not nonsense. There are 2 or 3 lines that come out. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm trying to sing.
Yeah.
Like my subconscious, or a whole verse and chorus will just come out. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I've got this melody, and I listen back, I'm like, no, I've got lyrics as well, apparently. And then I kind of sculpt that into something more viable. But authenticity seems like it can only come from a single mind and heart. I don't know if that's true. Maybe someone can argue that.
Yeah.
But if I know where I'm trying to get to, it just seems like a little bit more of a pain in the ass for someone to be like, hey, man, why don't you maybe take a left here? I'm like, well, I appreciate you saying that, but I'm trying to get over there.
Right.
I don't know how I'm going to get there yet, mm-hmm. but I know that's where I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
And if the other person is just approaching it from like a sort of arbitrarily cool thing, like, oh, wouldn't it be neat if we like rhymed that with this? Like, I suppose, but I'm not trying to write a neat song. I'm trying to like change the world here.
Right. I'm trying to write another
exactly.
Lennon McCartney here, okay? I need you to...
So every song is kind of that. And then you get people like Lennon and McCartney who maybe were from the same heart and mind. Maybe there's like what they call the collective subconscious, the ether out there that everyone can get a hold of. So I'm sure there are people, and I think we're developing into co-writers. I think we're going to end up there.
Yeah.
But because of our habits that are hard to break, we go off into our corners, figure out A to B, and then come back and go like, okay, now that we cannot change where it started and where it ended, let's change how you got there. You know, kind of like manipulate this. And
when we were first seeing each other, I remember sitting in the living room and working on a song that I was writing, and he very kindly and excitedly he was like, hey, that line that you just sang, what if you, and I'm like, no, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready.
It's not at that point yet.
Yeah. Right. And I'm still that way. I know I have to have a certain amount where I'm comfortable with it, and then I'm like, okay, here you go. I'm stuck here. I don't know what to do there. Or what do you think? I'm ready. I'm ready for the input.
Yeah.
Those suggestions, if they're given to you at the wrong time, can be permanent. Because sometimes, and I talk about going from point A to point B, sometimes point B is a little elusive, even to yourself. You know it's there. There's like a ghost of it, but you can't kind of get your hands on it, and you really want to.
Yeah.
So you're like, shh, do not give me, don't, it's the power of suggestion.
Right.
You're like, oh, now I can't get that rhyme out of my head. And you just really need you need to meditate on it. Be like, there's some weird little place I'm trying to get. And I don't know if we can ever. I think even Lennon and McCartney wrote separately, but they brought he'd bring the bridge and he'd bring the verse.
You're right, though. I think we are going to evolve into actual co-writers. Yeah. It's getting closer and closer to that. Yeah. I just recently wrote a song that I knew where I wanted it to go, the last verse, but couldn't get it. Brought it to him, and he brought me a verse. He said, "What if you do this?" And it was great. But it didn't quite get where I wanted to go. And I think I ended up keeping
the bulk of
a line, 2 lines from it.
That was
and
the
then
closest we'd ever gotten to that.
Changing the twist at the end, but it went exactly where I wanted it to go. And I don't know that I would have gotten there as quickly, or maybe not at all, without his input.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time together, so.
Yeah.
We don't have to ask each other what we want on the pizza that we're ordering anymore.
Yeah. That's always nice.
It's very nice. Now it's not, what do you want on the pizza? It's just, do you want pizza?
Yeah.
Yes.
How large do you want?
Right.
How many pizzas do you want?
Right.
Is usually my question.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been living with my roommates for like 2 years now, and it's almost at that point where it's like, pizza, yes, okay, where like tonight, that's what it was, and it was like, well, where do we want it from? And you know, it's funny. We almost don't have to ask anymore.
Just
certain things become pretty symbiotic.
Yeah.
With existence when you share your life with somebody for long enough.
Yeah. And who are your influences?
Man, there are too many. At the risk of sounding like I'm so eclectic with my musical taste, but maybe like top 5, just off the top of my head. I'm a huge Beatles fan. Mm-hmm. I love Townes Van Zandt. You know, more Gillian Welch is great. I'm a huge Jeff Tweedy fan. You know, I guess trying to relate maybe to this project, you know, Emmylou Harris is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
It's funny, I think that in so much as what we grew up with, the music that we grew up with, obviously stuck. The Beatles, Emmylou, that kind of, well, I guess Emmylou for me, maybe not so much for you, but especially for this project, the influences are the same for both of us. And I think the beautiful part of it is that we do have that same sensibility that was kind of ingrained.
Yeah.
That we took and love, and it's the same. But then, you know, our teenage years were vastly different, and our 20s were, I don't know if they were vastly different, but they were different. But you get to keep your the roots of your influence, and then you get to draw in influences along the way.
Yeah.
And still there's new bands that, you know, he'll bring me that all of a sudden that I'm like, oh my God, they're in the top 10.
Yeah.
You know, musical influences are a funny thing. I think it's always changing.
Yeah.
Nobody ever really gets out of the top 10.
Nope.
The top 10 just becomes
20 and 30 and
the
40.
top 100.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask me, who are your favorite Austin bands? And I was like, well, everybody that's been on my podcast.
Right.
And there's always more coming.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it's an infinite playlist.
Right.
It's never ending.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's kind of, well, you know, how do I feel today?
Exactly.
Who is my influence today?
Yeah.
Who am I going to turn to for inspiration?
Definitely.
This morning.
How sad am I? How happy am I? Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, people constantly are always asking me, well, who's your favorite band? And I'm like, okay, well, what genre?
Right.
Yep.
Like, you need to, you know, I've got like definitely like a top 5 that probably overall.
Yeah.
But
the Desert Island guy.
Yeah.
The Desert Island list.
Yeah. But at the
I
same
hate
time,
the Desert Island list. I would almost rather have nobody. You can't choose.
Right. Someone asked me,
Spotify on my desert island.
Right.
Why do I have to pick?
what records would you take with you to a desert island? Water. Or just take water.
Yeah.
And food. Those aren't records. I know, but I'm not going to want to listen to goddamn records when I'm like stranded on an island.
And also, after a couple of weeks, you're probably going to get tired of those 5 records.
Oh, God. You know, no matter how much you love a certain artist, if you listened to them every single moment of your entire life for the rest of your life on a desert island, you would end up hating them at some point, I'm sure.
Who do I want to take on a desert island? Probably somebody that I don't like that much, so eventually I'll probably like them. And then when it goes back to not liking them anymore, it's not a huge deal, because I already didn't like them.
I never liked you anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I like that.
Actually, part of that idea came from that movie Easy A. Emma Stone gets this card, and it's playing, it's playing a song, like a section of a song. She's like, I hate this song. And she keeps opening it. So, like halfway through the weekend, she's just singing it like crazy. And then at the end of the weekend, she's like, I'm going to tear up this card. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Full circle.
I was like, yeah, that's about how I would want that to go.
Totally.
Who do you listen to that you think would surprise people?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I used to love Fishbone, and everybody thought that was a very strange choice for me to listen to.
I just got surprised by that. I love Fishbone. I didn't see that from Folky. Yeah, that's a good one. Mine would probably be some really like Spandau Ballet or some like really cheesy 80s. Just overall, what might surprise someone is that
cheesy 80s for you is not surprising to anybody.
Well, to you. I mean, no,
well, that's
maybe
true.
not.
That's true.
I love like 80s pop music. I think
80s pop is amazing.
I think it's the best pop music, you know.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I don't know if it's because it was my formative years or what. Everyone thinks they're, as Tom Petty put it, he goes, you know, everyone thinks their generation's music was the best.
Best music, yeah.
The thing is that mine actually was.
Yeah.
But as far as pop music's concerned, I think there's just such good songwriting. You know, you break those songs down, like stuff that was on the radio was so much more complex and like well written. Like even a Hall & Oates song, you tear that down. There's some great chords and harmonies going on there. Or Tears for Fears, like those are some crazy chord progressions.
Yeah.
So effortlessly done and beautifully written and great singers. And there's a lot of great pop music out now. And I'm talking about like the pop, the top 40.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it seems like what was in top 40 then, like around the 80s was a little bit more out there, or like kind of like they were breaking out of a certain mold and like really trying interesting things.
It definitely seems like it, yeah. Because, I mean, everybody was like, there's a lot of electronic stuff happening, and nobody really, I mean, there's a lot of electronic stuff now, but it's, in my opinion, too electronic.
Right. Well, it's kind of been honed.
It's
just like, it's been honed down to a real specific voice.
Yeah.
That you can pick from. There's not just one electronic voice, but you now know. Like, you're not experimenting with it as much. And I could be wrong. Chances are someone out there is going, I experiment all the time. But like, even like, man, when like Michael Jackson, you know, like the Thriller, weird tunes like that. It's like they're so like weirdly produced and like, you know, strange stuff going on.
There's definitely a lot more. It feels like there's a lot more chances taken at that point. Right. And I almost kind of feel like maybe we might be entering that again.
That would be great, and it's bound to happen. Yeah. You know, it's bound to happen. Yeah. Like I you know, there was some great stuff. You know, there's some great pop music on in this, you know, 60s as well. Yeah. You think about it, like Jimi Hendrix was on pop radio. Yeah. That's crazy. And you're cruising down the road just putting on, you know, your top 40 and it's Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. So yeah, I hope it does come around, and maybe it already is. My thumb might not be firmly on the pulse, but you know, I sure would love to be turned on. Yeah. To a bunch of new stuff. Yeah. Oh, we're always seeking around, you know, poking around, trying to find stuff. Yeah. And it is like she says, when you find the new favorite band, that goes to the top 10 immediately. I love that. When they're,
me too.
You know, it's like one listen, you're like, whoa, that band is great. Yeah. And they just hit all the marks for me. Yeah. Because it's a personal thing.
Definitely,
you know, it's just you. That's cool. And it's cool that you can still find stuff like that.
Yeah. I get really excited when that happens.
Yeah. It's so much
I do
fun.
too. I tend to have your Desert Island problem, though, in that I listen to that. I'll listen to it over and over and over and over and over, and 6 months later he turns it on like, no, not again. I need a break.
I'll also, like, randomly, what will happen for me is, like, a song will just get stuck in my head, and I'll be like, why is this song on a loop? Like, it's not something that I necessarily, like, paid a lot of attention to, and I'm like, wait, oh no, my subconscious already knows this is a song that I need to be listening to, and then it won't ever it won't leave my head for like a week, and I'm like, this is okay, you can just live there.
Those are good hooks.
Yeah. And if you could write with anyone alive or dead, who would you want to write with?
Ooh. One person, huh?
As many people as you want to name.
Gillian Welch, for me.
You liked her, yeah.
I would. But I probably wouldn't write anything. I would just sit there like,
soaking it in.
Oh no, that sounds great. Oh yeah, do that. Go with that line.
Right. She's a hell of a songwriter.
Maybe I would rather just drink whiskey with Gillian Welch.
Yeah.
Then write a song.
If you're out there listening, come on, come on over. Shoot, my favorite songwriters. I guess from the past, I sure would. Well, Paul McCartney would be one of my favorite people to write with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I stopped myself from saying the past because he's still here.
Yeah.
I was going to say John Lennon, so to all the John Lennon fans, I apologize. I changed my mind at the last second. Paul McCartney. I would love to write with Paul McCartney.
And all the George Harrison fans.
What a phenomenal songwriter. Like, I feel like, just as an arranger, too, I think I would enjoy arranging, just watching that happen and come together. I guess that would put me in John Lennon's seat, is what I would like. That would be like, what a crazy, huge seat to fill. But just to sit there and watch that go down, and be a part of it. I don't know if I would qualify to be in the same arena, but just being in the room to kind of feel that go down. Yeah, that'd be pretty special.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, if you happen to listen to my podcast, number one, amazing. Please tell me that you're listening.
Right.
Number two, make this happen and let me sit in on it because I want to watch it.
Yeah. Paul and Gillian, if you guys just want to drop by, it's totally cool.
We're cool with that.
I think contemporary for me would probably be Patty Griffin. I am so intrigued by her songwriting process and the way that she just, she cuts right to it, and she can cut you down real fast in the most beautiful way, lyric wise, and I would love to go through that process with her.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And do you guys ever cover any songs? I can't remember if you...
Yes.
Yeah. What's
It's one of my favorite things to do.
Okay. So what's your favorite song to cover?
As of late, it's generally the one that we're covering at the moment.
Yeah.
But we do a song by Pink Floyd called Fearless. A deep-ish cut. If you're a Pink Floyd fan, it's not a deep cut.
Yeah.
If you are just a kind of peripheral listener, people are like, what song is that? It's like, that's a Pink Floyd tune. But the people who do recognize it are just like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
And, that's how I would feel.
Yeah.
And I don't think you were familiar with that tune as much.
No.
And it's such a cool tune when you add a little. I mean, it's already a cool tune.
Yeah.
But for us, it lends itself easily to our little vibe.
Yeah.
And to put the two-part the guy-girl harmony to it, a little bit of mandolin and pedal steel. It was one of the easiest songs for us to cover. One of the most successful as far as audience response, and one of the ones that we have the most fun doing.
Yeah.
We've done stuff from Tom Petty to U2 songs, like weird stuff that people don't expect, but then I hear it like, oh, that's a totally different take on a band that I don't even know if I like.
Right.
Particularly with the U2 song.
Yeah.
No offense to U2 fans, but they are the band that everyone loves to hate. Yeah. For sure.
I'm definitely one of those people that's
not a big fan.
When he brought the U2 song to me that we've been currently doing, I was like, I really don't know about this, but I'll humor you. And let's try it out. And it's hands down one of my favorite ones to sing.
Because again, it's breaking down those walls. It's like, for whatever reason you don't like a certain band, in this case U2, if you strip all that away and you have a song, I think it's really wonderful when someone can recognize that underneath whatever clothes that song is wearing, however it's dressed up. Break it down and be like, that's a beautiful song. Yeah. That's a beautiful chord progression and good lyrics. And when you approach covering a song that way, because the skeleton of the song touched you in some way, then it kind of comes across real nice. And I think that's the case with this U2 song we do. I am a fan of it, by the way. But, that's pretty much the joy of covering songs for me personally. Yeah. I think it's probably for everyone, I'm guessing. I think some people do stuff just to be novel or kitschy or something, it's like, ooh, that's kind of like a interesting song to cover or something like that. But we definitely shoot for like something that speaks to us, you know, and it's fun if it's not super obvious too. I guess that part is fun as well.
I do like the ones that are out of what you would normally expect for that whatever band is playing.
Right.
I've always said, bring out a Britney Spears song. You will have a fan for life.
Sure.
So whatever style you do it in, it's going to be completely different from whatever she does.
Right.
It's just going to. Like, Ryan Adams, one of my favorite artists, covered that whole Taylor Swift record.
Yeah.
Oh, he did, didn't he? That's
amazing.
Right. It sounds great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And,
of course, surprising fact that you might not know about me, that album that Taylor Swift did it herself is also pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Her version
for
of
her style, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ryan Adams did the whole thing, and it's gorgeous.
Because they're good tunes. You tear it down, and they're good tunes.
Yeah.
You know, they're well written. You know, got some cool stuff going on.
There's some Taylor Swift that I like.
I'm not a fan myself, but when I heard Ryan Adams do it, I was like, damn, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's nice if the song can translate that well too across different artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the mark of a good song. I think, you know?
Yeah, definitely. What's your favorite Austin venue to play?
A venue? There's different ones for different reasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, depends. There's our favorite. There's some of our favorite duo shows.
Mm-hmm.
Our smaller, more intimate stages. Just off the top of my head, the Hole in the Wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a gritty little corner stage vibe, and we feel super relaxed there. Sometimes we'll sit down, and sometimes it's easy-going, and it does have that grit.
And the bartenders are super like laid back there.
Yeah,
like
the whole scene is just like easy going.
I've only been there a couple of times, and it's one of the few places that I don't feel like anybody's putting on any kind of a show or anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird, because sometimes you'll go in and a bartender will almost seem like they're trying to be mean. Just to be, like, kind of that dickhead bartender or whatever.
To fit the...
Yeah.
Like how all chefs have to be assholes. It's like, you don't have to be. You don't.
But every time
but you're supposed to be. Like, okay. All right.
I mean, I guess, but, that doesn't make for a great work environment, right? But yeah, I like the Hole in the Wall a lot. It's definitely, like you said, it's definitely got that gritty, like, very laid back vibe.
Yeah, and then we have fun there, and I think full production shows, I enjoy the hell out of Stubbs.
Yeah.
That was
great
fun.
experience with the sound person and just loading in, loading out, the technical boring shit like that.
But still,
the show itself, just for a full production, it felt great on stage, and all reports so far have said that it sounded really nice off stage.
It did sound very good.
So and then you've got your different vibes for different stuff.
You get different crowds at different venues, too. I think
Saxon is a good listening room.
It is.
Like, we've had some of our best times there.
Yeah. One of my very favorite full band shows we ever played was at the Continental Club.
Oh, yeah. Shit, that was
great.
Rollicking is a good, like, kind
so
of...
fun.
Continental Club is rollicking. It's like, no matter what you're playing, we were even doing our, like, softer stuff, but somehow... and this is really cool because... it shows how organic that little clunky vehicle that I'm talking about actually is. Once it gets moving, a venue will affect the way you perform your songs, or it will us. I don't know if it. I can only speak for us, but our band, it'll change the tempo. It'll change, the way you sing it, either aggressive or non-aggressive, or like. It's we played at the Continental that time, and it was so, like I said, rollicking. It's just like, man, just started pounding it, and I think everything was just a little bit faster, and we were singing a little bit louder, and the guitars are just a little bit more gritty. Whereas at the Saxon or the Townsend or other places we played, it's like airtight. Not a lot of chatter, people really listening, and you kind of like deliver it differently, kind of making sure your lyrics get across and your story and your real intimate vibe kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know if there's an overall favorite venue in Austin.
That's one of the cool things about a city like Austin.
Yeah.
There are so many really amazing places to play for different reasons.
Yeah, definitely. I've been to not all of the places in Austin, but a lot. And there's everyone has its good stuff and its bad stuff, but the ones that stick out are definitely really, really good. So, do you have what LA places did you really enjoy? I didn't really get out too much in LA, so.
Grand Ole Echo.
The Echo.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The Satellite was great.
Satellite, Howard and Stone was always fun to play at.
Yeah. I think our two favorites might have been the Echo and the Satellite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were right in our neighborhood. So it was like the Echo, we walked to it.
Yeah.
Walked home.
Silver Lake Lounge.
Yeah.
That was
true.
one of our first spots to play. That was the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
Silver Lake.
I feel that. Gritty. Yeah.
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 And where can we find your music?
You can buy it on Bandcamp. Just punch in the name Fairbanks the Lonesome Light, search it, and it'll come up. You can stream it on SoundCloud. You can stream it on Spotify. And you can go to our merch store to buy vinyl.
Very cool.
and other, CDs, T-shirts, that kind of stuff. But that's the only place you can go to get vinyl. And that's,
unless it's a live show.
Unless it's a live show, right? And the merch store is linked to our website.
It is, yeah.
And that's Fairbanks and the Lonesome Light.com, which is a long little typing situation.
So is Julia's Infinite Playlist.
Yeah. The worst part is making sure you get the spelling right. Actually, Fairbanks and the Lonesome Light.
Yeah.
You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm pointing at each little letter on the screen.
You can also always just shoot us a message.
Yeah.
And we will be happy to oblige to send you to the appropriate spots or
we'll mail you something. Bring it to your house if you're anywhere near 78704.
Yeah.
We did that in California. We hand delivered all the vinyls.
Nice.
Kind of, sort of, but mostly.
It was more fun that way.
Yeah.
We'll bring it to your house.
Do you guys have any upcoming shows?
We're taking a break to finish up a batch of songs. It kind of works like in spurts for us. And I've got a couple that I really want to work on. She's got a couple. We're already performing one of her songs and one of my songs, but we want to kind of add to that. We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of get them done. And I think the next full show we do will be at least half new material.
Very cool.
We are doing a tribute on February 8th. We're joining in with a bunch of Austin musicians for a Ray LaMontagne tribute show, who I never listened to all that much. I don't know his songs. I know one song, and I heard it on the radio once, and it blew me away.
Yeah.
It's a great, like, that song is in my top 20 songs.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan of that song, which means I'm a fan of his.
Yeah.
And luckily, when they asked us to do it at the last minute, one of the guys who was putting the band together was like, "Hey, you guys would be great. Sorry we didn't think of you guys earlier, but would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I looked through all the list of songs that had already been taken, and no one had taken the song that I loved.
Nice.
I was so stoked, because otherwise I was going to have to go up there and like learn a song that I didn't know at all.
Yeah.
Which I hope doesn't disqualify me for doing a tribute. But I love this one song so much that I think I'm qualified to be on there.
And we qualify anyway because I love Ray LaMontagne.
Yeah,
and I know
she is a fan.
Yeah.
And the fun thing about it is that he claimed the song and then he promptly turned to me and said, "Okay, you're going to sing it."
You're
right?
singing it. But that's coming up at the Saxon Pub. Am I right?
I believe you are.
Okay. That'll be February 8th.
Okay.
There's some cool folks on that bill. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Very cool. You guys want to play a song?
Yeah, we'd love to.
Yeah.
This tune is, it's actually the title track off our recent record, Nothing to Escape.
Right along the waterside, it's strange to feel okay. It's different than the circumstances. Find myself in most other days, 'cause I'm used to spending time trying to figure out life that could free me from the wasteland and the blood-stained machine. But it's lighter times like these, when life gets on with ease, nothing keeps running on the side of the road. Looking for nothing to escape, nothing to escape, nothing to escape this time. Looking for nothing to escape, nothing to escape, nothing to escape this time. Sometimes I dream just like a child. Never made much sense to me. All the money you can spend, it's the strangest world I've ever seen. Stranger are the things on which I've come to depend. With so many things to feel, and how to cope is so unclear. Just light yourself on fire and let it burn away. But today is pretty good, and the light is understood. Put away the things that kill me, stick around another day.
stand. I've got nothing to escape. Nothing to escape. Nothing to escape this time.
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening. This podcast was created, edited, and produced by Julie Roth with help from Nick Colbert. The theme song is by Animal Abstract. Special thanks to Nikki Nadeau. All songs performed are property of the musicians performing them. If you like the podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify, and help the podcast get on the charts. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/Julie's Infinite Playlist. And you can also donate via the PayPal link on the website, www.juliesinfiniteplaylist.com, and like us on Facebook and Instagram.